Good morning everyone. Welcome to Market Voice. Well, as part of this series in the Market Voice, we have been looking into one of the very interesting book on warfare called The Art of War, and we are trying to map the kind of warfield wisdom to our trading activities and see how wisely we can become good traders, protect our capital, understand the risk, and make some decent living out of the stock markets. Knowledge is of paramount importance, but what is more important is the wisdom. Information is everywhere, available to everyone in today's world. Knowledge is something which comes out of analyzing the information, and the real wisdom is something which you already know, and you should know when to deploy it, when to make use of which information, which knowledge, and how to deploy them is all about wisdom. So this wisdom comes only by experience, only by you becoming a completely involved person in that activity, not just in trading, in any field for that matter. If you become that, then it becomes easier for you to win. For a cricket player, it's not just about he learns the techniques of the batting or bowling, it's not just about he keeping himself fit for the game, it's also about he completely surrendering to the game and becoming one of that. Any person becomes part of that, tries to merge with that, will definitely become victorious. And it is no different in trading or investing. You should become part of it, completely surrender to the market, and then see if market can give you some good breakthrough. So today's discussion is all about risks. If you go to, or if you are driving on the road, there is a risk. If you venture into any business, there is a risk. If you venture into any business, there is a risk. If you go to a job also. So risk is something which is given, and human mind for that matter fairly understands there is always risk for any reward. The risk could be in terms of failures. Failure is a risk, but if you do not attempt, there is no reward. So with the aspect of risk, what does the art of war say? In the second chapter in the art of war talks of waging the war, which means the mechanics of the war. So this entire chapter, the first chapter was all about planning, second chapter about execution. So in this execution chapter, there is one treaty which SunTzu declares: one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war, only he can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. So beautifully he puts, one evils of war, or the only one who is pros and cons of what you are entering into. If you do not know what is the consequences of if you fail, what happens, then you are in very big trouble. Who is a good warrior? The good warrior is the one who fully understands the risks involved in war or the evils involved in war. Only those people will be careful enough. Yes, waging war is important, but they also know waging a war has both good and bad. The one who really understands all the bad aspects of the war, only then he will be cautious enough and he will be responsible enough to wage the war and win in a good way. Very similarly, we can apply the same treaty to our trading activities also, wherein we can very clearly say the one who understands the risks alone can make some nice profits, or the one who understands the risks are the ones who will survive in the markets for long and will eventually win in the long run. So it's so very important. You should know what you are entering into, any field for that matter, not just in war or not just in trading or investing. Any work you are entering, you should know what is the consequences of the work that you are doing, both good and bad. And if the work that you are doing has any bad consequences, you should be fully aware of that, so that you will be conscious enough to navigate those things and do justice to your work. Many a times, if you are in the sales field, maybe you are forced to tell some or give some misinformations or entice the customers probably in a wrong way. You should know the pitfalls of those things. Only then you will be conscious. Only then you will be able to handle your job well and do well in the long run. So as far as trading is concerned, please understand, risk is the part of it. You cannot say there is no risk. There is always no risk, no reward is the statement which we all know, which is so very true also. But at the same time, how much risk to take or when to take the risk, you should have a predefined methodologies for all of these things. Yes, you can get rewarded only if you take risk, but then how much risk to take, how much of risk you survive with, when to take the risk, when to understand the risk that you have taken has gone wrong and you have to mitigate the risk. All of these things are your risk management. So like in warfare, the way SunTzu says, the person who thoroughly is acquainted with the evils of war can only understand the profitable way of carrying it on. If you have to really in trading have to survive for long term and make some good returns of it, then you better understand what is the risk of being in derivatives market, what is the risk of being in long term investment, what is the risk of over exposing yourself beyond your limits. All of those aspects you should know well. Well, with that we will conclude today's session. We will once again meet tomorrow. Until then, Om Swasti.